Most people think they know what they're good at. They're usually wrong, though, and yet a person can perform only from strength.
What's up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we go over best-selling books for our best life and learn the best principles. My name is William Blake. We are joined by our co-producer, Ian Sturmer, as well, and the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr. And today we are continuing our discussion with the book Strength Finder. Say that 5 times fast. Strengths Finder 2.0 by Tom Rath. And I'm excited for this one because we're jumping into the more in-depth side. So there's 34 lessons or words that you can be associated with in here. And as we were talking in the back room, we thought it would be really cool for you listeners and for us as well to find one that resonated most with us. I know some of us have taken it multiple times, and some of us, not saying myself, have not taken it at all. So going over the list of words and being able just to see what our strength is that we see, and then maybe as we go on, maybe we'll talk about a word that the other person has a strength in that they might not see in themselves. Who knows? But we're going to jump into the words that we think we have strengths in. So I don't know out of us three, who wants to go first. Sweet. Let's head it up.
I'll really quickly read through some of the strengths and what they call the themes and ideas for action. Because again, as we talked in our last episode, we talked about not focusing on your weaknesses, but strengthening your strengths, right? Working on what you're good at. And I love that the way they've just organized this. And there are 34, and in spite of reading all 34 just for boring you, there's a couple that really highlight out. There's like achiever, activator, analytical, belief, command, communication, competitiveness, connectedness, deliberative, developer. These are all like highlights that people can resonate with. Empathy, focus, futuristic, includer, individualization, learner, intellectual, maximizer, positivity, relator, restorative, self-assurance. That's a cool one. Significant, strategic, and woo are just a brief list of the 34. I want to kick things off because I literally just wrote a chapter in one of my books about this. And in a community of people who all took this quiz, this test, I guess it's an assessment, all at the same time, and then they all shared their answers with each other, I actually had a weird experience. And it's because I realized something about myself that I didn't know until the assessment proved otherwise. And all the way at the bottom is a term called woo, W-O-O. And woo is, as you know it, it's a wooer, someone who's good at wooing people. I am like to a T able to woo people, like how to win friends and influence people. I'm so good at attracting people into my world. And it is my number one top strength. And as a young college student, when I first took this, all the other college students around me, they were cool. They were like achiever and developer and individualization and futuristic and all these people, these really cool ones. My top strength was woo. And it was kind of depressing because I got made fun of for being a wooer, a people pleaser. That's what they related it to. But I'm happy to acknowledge that this experience was very, very helpful to me. Because as I read into the idea of woo, I quickly reminded myself that it's not a people-pleasing, a negative skill set, but wooing is actually one of the world's top recruiter-based skill sets, and I'll share with you just a little bit about it, and then I'll invite you guys to kind of comment on it and make fun of me as well if you'd like, and bully me. I'm just kidding. Don't bully me, please.
Always.
Who said always? But for woos, it's very, very interesting. Here's the definition of it. Here we go. Woo stands for winning others over. So how to win friends and influence people. You enjoy the challenge of meeting new people and getting them to like you. Strangers are rarely intimidating to you. On the contrary, strangers can be energizing. Woo sounds like this. Deborah, she's a publishing executive. I've made best friends out of people that I have met passing in the doorway. I love that example. And then just a few other cool things about it. And I'll tell you my personal example is, ideas for action, like how to use woo. Choose a job in which you can interact with people over the course of a day. You can, in social settings, take responsibility for helping put reserved people at ease. And then there's stuff like practice ways to charm and engage others for better results, and helping people. These are all qualities of a woo personality. And if I was a hiring manager, I would look for someone in the form of a sales representative. I would look for someone who has a strength in woo, because woo is not only a really positive attribute, it's not toxic at all. In fact, it's somebody who cares deeply about people around them. And then, one of my second strengths was also inclusiveness. And I realized that the woo activates the inclusiveness and created more of this idea that not only do I love to meet new people and I thrive off of that, but I like to include them in experiences. I like to keep them in an environment where they feel not only excited, but safe. And I'm so hyper aware of my surroundings that becomes something really, really interesting. So I wanted to kind of bring up the word woo to you guys, because in some of our meetings, we talk about how woo is someone who's kind of like a spiritual, and maybe they think of like natural remedies or something like that. But in this context, woo is literally winning others over. And I want you and the listeners of this podcast to see it as a positive thing. This is a really positive thing. And I actually wrote a chapter about it in a book recently. You can go check it out. It's called The Book of Human Empowerment. And I talked about how woo is a great strength. But I'm curious, what are your guys' thoughts on woo, and how does that resonate or not resonate with you? I'll pass it over to you.
Well, not to make light of it, but every time you kept saying woo woo, and all I thought it was my kid running around going wee woo with the ambulance coming. But that relates because you get the attention. You're driving down the road and you hear the wee woo. You are looking, if you're the driver, you're looking everywhere to make sure that you are not in the path of the ambulance. Like how, so the woo, like it's about that attention grabbing. So it still works, even as we make light of it. I think it's incredible. That power to influence others through and being able to it's like entertainment, but not entertainment at the same time. It's a mixture of entertainment and influence, because people can have influence, but they're not entertaining. But people probably like, I think Elon Musk, like he has influence. He made Tesla. He has like a bunch of influence, but he's not like the most entertaining person to listen to. Very single toned, very just low voice and slow. Then you got entertainers who can get up on stage, usually comedians, who are just like entertaining as heck, but they might not have influence of changing people's lives and making them like want to do something else. They might have a good laugh in the moment, but in the long term, not doing it. So woo kind of like mixes those two into a perfect harmony of they're able to entertain, be able to bring up and energize, but at the same time influence to bring the wisdom and experience in. That's what I think when I think of woo.
Yeah. Okay. We all have to do our little thing about the woo joke at the beginning. And first thing, I misread that because I just read the woo. And if you've ever watched the TV show How I Met Your Mother, there's a great episode where Robin and Lily go out, and Robin discovers that Lily is a woo girl, a girl who goes woo all the time. So anyway, but there's actually something there, the excitement, the outgoing. But as I look through that, I realized there's no sales category in this Strengths Finder. But woo, to me, is the essence of sales. Now, Jeffrey Gitomer in the cover, I believe it's the Little Red Book of Selling. Inside the cover, it says, all things being equal, people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. And the second page says, all things being not quite so equal, people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that's what I see that woo is. It's know, like, and trust. It's quickly building that. And it's building a commonality. It's sales without pushy. It's sales by sharing, by a relationship, by a connection, relationship sales, for lack of a better term. And I think that's really where it fits in. Like Willie just said, it's the energy in it, and haven't had the ability to step in to fill in John's shoes a couple of times and have people say, well, it was nice, but it doesn't have that energy that John has, which is a great compliment to John and a chance for me to look up to that. But that woo really is, it's an energy, it's a connection, it's a genuineness, it's a likability. And those are all just phenomenal characteristics that we should all be working on. And that John, I'll second the Strengths Finders quiz there, that John has those. It's a genuineness in that, not trying to fake it through, but wanting to build that immediate connection and people feeling that genuineness. And just a likability might be one of the others, but I put woo and likability very close together for that. And without that, we're pushy and disingenuous and things that we don't want to ever be. So.
Yeah, I love it.
Great points. What are some words that resonate with you guys and that when it comes to the Strength Finders?
Yeah, the one that came from me, I was looking at them because I haven't taken this yet, so I don't know the scientific, like they haven't shoved it right in front of me in a piece of paper saying this is your number one. But as I'm looking at these words, I kept looking at the definitions, and the ones I thought I'm like, yeah, I am a little bit, but that doesn't describe me. One popped up, and the one is deliberative, which is being deliberate. I hope I'm saying that right. Dyslexic guy here. Being deliberative. And it says that people exceptionally talented in the deliberative theme are best described by the serious care they take in making decisions or choices. They anticipate obstacles. And I think I think I'm also great with adaptability, great with flexibility. But the cool thing is that under the surface, I'm always thinking about the risks that are going on. If any of you have been to an event that I've planned, I don't just have surface level things. I have backups on the backups in case things go wrong. I remember even a Champion Circle event, we had one at up in Lehigh. And I remember as we were having people come in, I was doing I was working the AV, working the speakers and such. And I had the stuff that was going to the speakers. I had the backup ones, and I made sure I had backup batteries for those. And then as we were going through the event, I'm looking around, making sure things are in position. I'm taking pictures and videos from different angles, knowing just like, okay, we have this event, but people are going to want to come to more events after because we provide so much value. So I want to make sure that like all these problems and challenges that aren't just like in the moment, but in the future keep popping up in my mind. So I thought, I'm just like, that is so me. And if I could read a little snippet that I see, it says, you are careful, you are vigilant, you are a private person, you know that the world is an unpredicted place. Everything may seem in order, but beneath the surface, you sense many risks. Rather than denying these risks, You draw each one out into the open, then each risk can be identified, assessed, and ultimately reduced. And I'm like, yeah, I joke around, and I don't think I'm too much of a private person, but I still think that when it comes to risk level and stuff, absolutely, I love analyzing it, and I love just having backup plans on the backup plans, because it really doesn't take that too much effort to do. But when those things happen, it's so relieving that we already know that something's already covered. So that's the word that comes to my mind.
Yeah, love that. And as you say that, I'm seeing your picture in that definition. It did make me wonder, deliberative versus a little bit OCD, maybe, but it fits in with that. And that idea of planning everything out and structuring things, and not just fly by the seat of your pants as you're doing it, but I love how, as I attend some of your events and am here as watching your leadership in these things, you know exactly what the purpose is in what you're doing. And everything is designed to go toward that purpose. And your contingency plans are in place. And I think that's just a great leadership characteristics. If I can make not saying anything is better than another, but just a comparison with John's side, I look more at sales. Your side, I look more at the leadership aspect. And just that dedication to detail and planning ahead is just a great trait for that.
I love that. And what I'll add too is, I never thought of you in this context, Willie, and without having actually taken the quiz. Obviously this is a strength that many people have, and since it resonates with you, it's very interesting, because first of all, you are careful, you are considerate, you're very detail oriented, systems on systems on systems, right? And backups. And that's really, really important. What makes sense to me as a business owner and an employer, I look at like how to utilize this person and their strength, and also, what to look for. And one of the things here, it says, working with others who have deliberative. Ask this person to join teams or groups that tend to be impulsive. That person will have a temporizing effect, adding much needed thoughtfulness and anticipation to the mix. And I'm like, well, duh, this is perfect. One of the reasons why it's a perfect fit to what we do is I'm so impulsive. And today, I was making decisions left and right, and Willie brought it back to, hey, let's think about this from a strategic point of view. And it was very, very warming and helping and really understanding of the processes that we were going through. And so absolutely, touche. I mean, that's you to a T. And I love that you brought this to the discussion today, because there's so many people out there that are so necessary for groups and the communication styles and the effectiveness of teams that come from a deliberative strength. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you for boosting me up on that. I was expecting us to deep dive into the word, not myself, but thank you so much for it. Yeah, it's really interesting that, like the quote we said at the beginning, we think we know our own strengths when we might not. And because of that, like, how can we focus on our own strengths if we don't know? And so having third parties come in, having our friends, like, being able to have these discussions where we're able to talk about these different words, talk about who we are and what other people see in us. They're very revealing, because it gives us those moments to focus more on our strengths rather than what we think is our strengths, but in reality, it might just be something we're good at or just decent at. So
I love that. And I think you hit a really important point there, that oftentimes we don't realize strengths that we have. And again, I need to go through this test or quiz to see where I fit in. But I had a conversation not long ago with a friend, and she was really kind of depressed. And I started going through some of the aspects of her life and things that she had accomplished. And at the end, she's saying, wow, I thought you were talking about somebody else this whole time. And not recognizing that we do have these strengths and labeling these strengths really helps to understand what they are. If I had gone through this list, I probably would not have picked yours, Willie. But once you said it and talked a little bit about it, it just became so clear. Like I said, your face was imprinted with that word. And understanding where those strengths are ourselves, that we all have strengths, but we don't always see those within ourselves.
And speaking of seeing within ourselves, Ian, I want to hear about what your word is that you picked.
Okay. Maybe this is what I want, but I think this fits into one of my strengths. I picked ideation. I'm fascinated by ideas, and I'm hoping I can put good ideas in there as well. But a quote from the beginning, it says, "An idea is a new perspective on familiar challenges. You revel in taking the world we all know and turning it around so we can view it from a strange but strangely enlightening angle. You love all these ideas because they're profound, because they're novel, because they're clarifying, because they're contrary, and because they're bizarre." So those of you who are only listening, not on camera, John was just laughing at that. But I see that as a strength of mine. I love to take an idea and then examine it and see what's the root. How does that break down? If we twist it just a little bit, how does that affect what we're doing? And a quote I attribute to Einstein, although I haven't fact-checked that: "Break everything down into its simplest component, but no further." And that's how I try to look at the world. How can we simplify everything down to its root idea, root cause, root motivation? And that allows me to see things in a different way, just a different angle of looking at it. Opens up new doors and new opportunities, at least in my life, that I see.
I took these ideas and I started relating them to you because it is an assessment. I started thinking about your qualities. So for those of you listening, I'm relating these. I'm taking the relator section of my strengths and I'm tying these in. But what's interesting about this is I read ahead and it says you're a natural fit with research and development. You appreciate the mindset of visionaries and dreamers, spend time with imaginative peers, and sit on their brainstorming sessions. That speaks to that's so you, dude. That's amazing. And I love that because, there's so many powerful ways to work with these types of people. But I like ideation because it allows creativity, but it's not just like throwing out ideas and letting it stick. That's what dreamers and visionaries do. You're sort of somebody who thinks it through and then takes the idea to fruition. And those are essential qualities of a member and a team member, as well as somebody you would look for in an opportunity to connect with different people at work. You would be an essential contribution to most team meetings and people who have the ability to think things clearly and thoroughly. And if you think about it, like in a lot of our team meetings, it's not rare, but oftentimes Ian will think about the question before we dive into conversation, and there's a lull in conversation until someone jumps in, and then he builds off of those ideas. And I think it's because he's thinking it through. But what's cool about this strength as well, and I'll just go back to the first sentence you said there, stretch the circle wider, see it from a different, bigger picture. And I think that's very valuable, and what a cool strength to have, because ideally it allows you to be aware of what is literally being discussed, conversed, and what is being carried out as a team. So I think it's just really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And I totally see it.
Thank you.
I'd agree with that. It's the ideas of it's not just coming up with the ideas, it's the connecting of them to other things. So you're great at connecting those ideas, and this principle of ideation is that connection which is so important because I'm trying to remember the quote. It's like a thought. It's like I'm going to mess it up. It's like a dozen thoughts. No, a thought is a dime a dozen, which means that each thought is less than a penny until you take action on it, until you start connecting with it. And so each of us have hundreds, if not thousands of thoughts a day. Mm-hmm. All of them are worth less than a penny. But Ian, you're so great at being able to take those ideas and then continuing on with them to where they start growing in value. Then you bring it into the universe and able to create the blueprint for it, and like you're the imaginative side of things of connecting and integrating it just seamlessly for all ideators and yourself. It's a wonderful attribute that is just fantastic for really any team that needs the kind of just that the beginning of, instead of just chucking ideas into the universe, let's connect them to start. So you're like the starting line for people, instead of just being like, we're just going to have this idea of having a running event. You're like, here's the starting line. We're going to connect that to you need to run. You need to have a finish line. You need to have timers to race it, like all those to connect.
Thank you. This is a good ego boost, I think, for all of us. But a genuine one, as we see these characteristics, and it helps me to see that maybe what I looked at initially is more than just a wish, because I honestly looked at it and said, this is what I want to be. I think I am as well, but it's also where I would like to see myself. And maybe that's an idea to look at these strengths and see, what do we build on, and what are the strengths that we want to have? Because I think the ones we want to have, we actually do have somewhere within us. If we find a way to pull those out.
I love that you said that. And my recommendation, take it as you will, is do not take the assessment with the hope that you'll be something, but take it with the idea that you're open to unearthing, unveiling your true greatest strengths according to this scientific-based assessment, because you will be surprised at how strong you are in various categories. However, what Ian just said is so important, because he really resonates with this quality. Willie, the quality you described, you really resonate with that one. And these were both two that I literally had to sit here and read through them because I'm unfamiliar with them, but yet they made so much sense. And so if it does resonate with you, Ian's right. You have that in you, and you have a desire to build that strength up. Not one person in the world, I guess I should say this differently. These are all strengths that are available to you. And some of us have many of these strengths. But if there's one that you really want to work on, this is a great place to start to identify what that is and to work on it, because there's some great stuff here. So again, I encourage everyone to take the assessment without any pre-context of what you want to become, but also be open to the fact that, hey, look, I didn't choose woo. The woo life chose me, and unfortunately it came with some bullying, some making fun of, some depression at first, because I didn't want to be something that wasn't cool. But when I delved deeper into it, I realized, oh my gosh, this is one of the greatest qualities in a salesperson. When it comes to marketing, this is one of the greatest attributes to have when it comes to attracting people. And so am I a valuable person in the workforce? Yeah, you should see how many job applications people send me to apply for their company on LinkedIn each week. I have to go through so much spam because people want me to work for them. And so I end my thoughts and conversation today by saying, I encourage you to take the assessment. But even if you don't take the assessment and you do what Willie and Ian have done today, and you just pick something that works well and resonates with you, read through it and realize, I would like to develop that strength. And I would like to become this better. And don't do it on the basis of being cool, but do it on the basis that Willie and Ian did, which is why it resonated with them. They thought these were really, really relatable qualities and attributes and strengths that they would like to continue to work on. So that's my recommendation. Take it as you will, but also I can't wait for you to discover your personal strengths, because it's literally a theoretical cape waiting to be worn as you understand exactly what your superpowers are.
Yeah, I definitely am not cool with mine, for sure. No, but as we finish, for the challenge for each of you champions, as you're listening and have gone to this part in the episode, take what John and Ian have said to heart. Like, it really comes down to, let's discover who we are. Each of us want to be cool in our own separate way, and we think that certain aspects are what make that individual cool, and we have to have those. But instead, why not just be ourselves? And why not be cool that way? If you think about it, many people might think we're cool. Many people think that we're not cool. If I am not myself, it is hard for me to remain in that ideal spot, because I'm living a lie every day of my life. But if I'm able to understand who I am, what my strengths are, and work on those and really just be myself, that's where the championship comes in. That's where the legends are made. Those individuals are themselves. They're so strong in a few areas that we see them on a pedestal. Not because they're on a pedestal, but simply because they are themselves. So the challenge for you is, like John said, as you go through this, keep in mind, go through this with the intention of, at the end, discovering a little bit more about yourself rather than trying to be the cool one. So with that being said, thank you, listeners and champions, for this wonderful episode that we've had. If you found inspiration, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast, Champion Reads. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com. There you'll have all the links to our socials, links to our podcast, as well as other things that are going in the Champion Circle universe and community. And until next time, continue to be awesome. Continue to take the steps you need to be yourself. And always remember that you are you, and that is enough. We'll see you on the next episode, champions.